So what is the number? Is it 1%? Is it 3.5%? Is it 2.5%? So let me put names behind this number. IMF, at the start of the year, and I'm talking about when we started the COVID-19 pandemic, they said our economy was only going to grow by 1.9%. Well, they've changed it. Now we are at 1%. That is the International Monetary Fund. CBK says, well, at the start of the pandemic, we're only going to grow by just 2.5%. Now they're saying 3.5%. Good. So where are we in terms of getting this number right? So the only thing that we can do this morning is pretty much go back to what our annual GDP growth has been as we wait for the quarter 2 numbers from KNBS. And Rishi, you can give us those numbers now. Thank you. That's where we play them. Good. If you actually go back to 2017, 2018, and 2019, you could actually see where we are because it's 4.9, 6.3, 5.4. So now the question is, what is really going to make us come all the way down to the 1.9 that MF is saying, and what is going to make us jump to the 3.5 that the CBK is hinting that our economy will rebound to as we talk about it right now? The only thing that we know is that, well, the economy has been reopened somewhat, yeah, because now we do know things have been relaxed here and there, even as we talk about a rebound again in those infections in the country, because as we open today, well, it is the 4th day of students going back to school, but again, 10 more fatalities and a jump in those infections. We are going to look at them this morning. Let's talk about Safaricom this morning. Now, in just 1 year, they have injected 6% of our GDP. Wow, think about it. In monetary terms, they have actually contributed more than 654 billion shillings into the economy. Good numbers as we talk about it, which pretty much shows you how Safaricom has cemented itself as one of those integral entities in the economy. Let's talk about the numbers before we look at where the revenue is coming from. And this one, we divide a little and look at their service revenue, and I'm talking about their service profile. But just before that, let's talk about the numbers in terms of employment. Good. Now, Safaricom directly, they have contributed 192,747 direct jobs into the economy. Well, there could be hundreds of thousands into that, but they're also now included in the different value chains within the economy. We have to talk about dividends to shareholders. We have to talk about businesses, taxes, and even person-to-person transactions, which we do know now has risen to a big amount because there's this stress now from the government for you and I to move into digital money so that we avoid getting infected by COVID-19 pandemic. So what is the service profile revenue? Let's take a look at that this morning so you have a paint or you have a clear picture of exactly where it is that we're coming from. Richie, again, that's where you played. Thank you. Ooh, today. All right, that's where we are. Now, I just want us to look at it this morning. Well, if you look at fixed data, it's at 4%. Others are going to be 5%, but I just want us to look at that. Mobile data, that is at 16%. Look at M-Pesa, 34%. And outgoing voices at 34% as well, which pretty much paints a picture of where Safaricom is in terms of the revenue contribution or the revenue profile into the country. Now, let's look at another one again, under service revenue again, because that's where you understand where the value chain is at. Good. 2017 all the way to 2018, 2019, and 2020, you can see that big jump in terms of billions. You see exactly where they are. 2020, which happens to be the year, because that's when they have been integrated so much into the economy in terms of also the money wallet getting expanded, people looking for more data, because we do know they are back again in terms of the leading board in internet provision in the country. So what are we looking again at this morning? Let's talk about another state entity that is in trouble again. So it appears it's not just KQ, it's not just SGR, it's not just the milling companies, the sugar milling companies in this country. No, it is also National Oil, NOC. You didn't know that the government ran an oil farm? They do, yes. Now, as we talk about this morning, their losses have quadrupled. I'm talking about 4 times worse than they were a year before. Because now we're talking about, in just the year ended June, they've turned in losses up to 1.4 billion shillings. Now let's talk about what their debt profile is really, so that you have a clear picture of exactly where they're coming from this morning. Now, if you look at where they are right now, they owe KCB some money, and KCB did give them 30 days in August to settle this money, or they get into proper recovery measures. Now, in a report tabled at Parliament just this week, that the losses have tripled from 300 million shillings in the past year to about 1.4 billion. Now, their total debt stands at 5.3 billion shillings, and we're talking about defaulted loans, which pretty much make them debt profile as we talk about this morning. Now, very, very integral for you to know this. The sales declined to just 124.8 million litres in the period under review from 322.8 million. Now, in terms of percentage, so you understand better where they are, that is a decline of 61.3%. That's where the eyes starts cranking for National Oil. Now, this week we've spoken about Poster as well, which is in trouble. Now it's National Oil. Now it's KQ. Now it's SGR. The question being this morning is that should the state really be in the business of business? It is 2020 for crying out loud, and it's a new decade as well. That's the question for you this morning. You can choose to talk to us on 20146. That's your SMS line, and at Metropole TVKE across all your social media platforms. That is exactly what it is that you're waking up to this morning. And we're also going to look at iPhone. Yes. Now, for those people who are saying it's a very good phone or not, one thing really stands out. They are not the leaders. You don't believe me? Let's look at exactly what the iPhone sales have been all the way from 2015 to where we are right now. I mean, that is for iPhone sales revenue, which can actually say has been dropping all the way to where we are in 2020. Well, they were doing good in 2018, and we're going to talk about that this morning. But what the general trend has been is that if you look at iPhone sales, it has been on a decline, which pretty much means that, well, it is the ecosystem that we should be talking about. iPhone. It's not a very special phone. No, it's not. Well, their later 5G, it looks like an old design. Well, but what is making this release integral? I want to talk about that right now this morning with IT experts and technology experts. We're going to explain to us what 5G journey is, because even here in the country, we have not yet fully covered by 4G. So why the fuss about the new iPhone, which pretty much looks, and I'm not lying, a bigger iPhone 5. I'm sorry, iPhone lovers.